to the Chronicles of Cigarnia, where we review two of the best things in the world, cigars and books, appealing to that very special demographic out there of about two. If you like one or the other, please stick around because you never know what weird fun facts you might pick up for awkward social situations, such as this one. Today we're going to be reviewing the number ones of 2020 with the Carrillo Pledge Prequel that Cigar Aficionado ranked a 98 and their number one of the year, and the National Book Award winner Interior Chinatown. Whoa, there it is. So let's see if these things measure up. So if you really can't wait for Interior Chinatown, or if you're one of those people who ran screaming from your literature class in high school, first of all, we need to have a serious chat about that. But when you see the book go up on the shelf next to the author portrait, that means I'm talking about the book. So you can technically scroll forward in time to see the book review. Otherwise, I will have a cigar in my hand. That means I am reviewing the cigar. I don't want to torture anybody, so feel free to do that. Unless you're my friend or you're my family, then you're required to watch all of this. All right, well, the sun is shining, the day is good. Let's cut this baby. I always make a hash of this when people are watching me. Just to do this safely, I'm going to go over my ashtray. Yeah, I did really make a hash of that. Some everywhere. Ooh, rule number one. Don't choke when you're trying to review a cigar. So let's get started with the Carrillo Pledge Prequel. It has this dark, lovely wrapper, not too oily, but it's got some nice mottled variation in here, not too veiny. It's a 5x50, and yes, it is a box press cigar, which I happen to like a lot. I just like how it fits in my hand. It smells really sweet. I like that. Okay, the next thing I want to show you is the band that we've got going on here. Now, I know, we're not supposed to judge a book or a cigar by its cover, but be honest, we do. And this is a great example of someone who's put a lot of thought into this. So our tasting panel noted that the coloration works really well with the dark wrapper, and it looks really regal with the different blues and this gold skirt on there. But you've got some interesting stuff in here. If you can see this, evidently, this is his daughter. And if you go over here, we have a lovely portrait of, a little shaky there, I believe it's his mother. And if you look closely here, you'll start to see some of the family crest. There's a little dragon up in there. It's a great example of someone who's taken a lot of care into the presentation, which I do really appreciate. They're very thoughtful about this. Points for honoring the women in your life with a miniature portrait on a cigar. Just wanted to smell it one more time again before I light it. It's wonderfully sweet and a little bit chocolatey, which is always a good thing. That Prelight draw is still sweet, but it's more of a sweet hay, I would say. I think we should start this and see how it goes. I feel like we should have some kind of exciting music going while this is happening. Because really, it is quite exciting, isn't it? Oh, there, can you see it with the white background? JB there. Wow, already it smells lovely. A little bit of pyrotechnics. Leaves a little bit of pepper on your lips. Whoa. I think this thing comes out swinging. There's a lot going on there. Nice. Wow. So just a little bit of background on this. It is made in the Dominican. It has an Ecuadorian binder and a Nicaraguan filler, and a USA Connecticut Habano wrapper, which is a little bit different than normal. But isn't this nice? So this is one thing I love about cigars. It is so international. Look at all of those countries coming together to make this one beautiful product. So there, you can feel good about yourself. You're supporting the whole world. It's like the small world in one smokable wrapper. Anyway. Okay, so immediate first impressions is a lot of pepper, but on the back of the palate, which is interesting. Definitely some sweet woody notes. Some kind of fruit. We'll have to see how this develops. But like I said, there is a lot of flavor right away with this. Very nice. So if you know anything about cigars, you know that the maker of this, Ernesto Carrillo, is kind of a hit maker. He's had 2 others that made it in the top 2. 2014, I think it was called La Historia, and 2018, the Encore Majestic. And that was ranked #1. So he knows what he's doing. Also evidently likes to name his cigars these big, expansive names, which doesn't seem to be a problem. He seems to live up to them so far. We're getting into the first third here. First of all, notice the smoke. It is quite luxurious. It's got a wonderful open draw. Very easy. That pepper is still there, but it's taken a back seat, and that sweet wood is really coming forward. I would say more of an oak. I would also add to that there's a little bit of bittersweet chocolate in the background of this also. I have a tasting panel, and they noted that there was some citrus, but I am not personally getting that, but I can see that this flake is, oh, I just lost them. It's a little bit flaky there, but it's got a lovely gray color, some nice striation going on. Okay, I think we can give this a little bit of a rest and start talking about our next #1, which is Interior Chinatown, the National Book Award winner. So this is Mr. CharlesYu. He is an ex-lawyer turned television writer, and he worked on Westworld, if you guys know that particular show. He has 3 other books out: Third Class Superhero, How to Live Safely in a Science Fiction Universe, and Sorry, Please, Thank You. So Interior Chinatown is weird. It's funny, but it's also really heartbreaking. Oh, and there went my ash. No. Where was I? So the first thing you need to know is that it is written as a teleplay. So if you could look at how the style is inside. And the main character, Willis, is an Asian American man who spends his whole life inside this television show, which is a police procedural called Black and White. There has been a murder in a Chinese restaurant inside Chinatown. And all of the extras live in crummy apartments above the Chinese restaurant. Of course, the extras all play background characters, such as generic Asian waiter or man who gets kicked in the face. Willis has great aspirations. He wants to be the highest role that is available to him, Kung Fu guy. Here on page 125, we see his great desire, and I'm going to read this for you. It says, "Ever since you were a boy, you dreamt of being Kung Fu guy. You are not Kung Fu guy. You were close there for a moment, but then you died." Ugh, the hair. Ugh. Yeah, I actually burnt my hair there taking that book down. Okay, so the book is down. So we're going to talk about this a little bit more because we're getting into the second third. The entire tasting panel had some burn issues going into the second third, and I did as well on this one, but it wasn't a big deal and it corrected itself. Also, it says something about the construction, that all of them are constructed the same, where we all had burn issues in the exact same space. So, so that explosion of flavor at the beginning has really mellowed out, and that spice that was so predominant has moved into the background, and we're getting a really smooth, nice oak being the main flavor coming out here. Very nice and mellow. Yeah. Lovely. Ah. It's also pretty strong. You could maybe tell from the state of my hair that gets more and more crazy, that it's getting a little strong, kind of a lightweight. So I am affected by it in ways that maybe a more hardy cigar smoker would not be. So you can see that the book is back up on the shelf. So we're going to return to the book. I guess the question is this the #1 book of the year? Well, much like cigars, #1 book of the year is very subjective. But what I really appreciate about the National Book Award Committee's choice this year, many things. One, that they went wacky. This is a weird book. I think that's great that they are willing to grab something that is a little less traditional and honor that. Second of all, it's fast. You can read this book in one sitting, which for me is a big plus. Of course, it's got great characters. The parents are beautifully rendered. It's got a fun plot. It follows Willis through roles playing generic Asian guy, trying to get to kung fu guy, boyfriend, father, perhaps criminal. A little bit of a hint there of how it's going. But I think what I really appreciate the most about the choice this year is that it highlights an experience that I think is really important for us to know right now. There has been an influx of Asian American hate crimes in 2020 and 2021. And what good literature does is it takes you and it plops you down into a world that sometimes you know nothing about. And it makes you see it through somebody else's eyes. And when you come out, you feel empathy for somebody that perhaps you have no idea what their world is like before that. To see the world through Willis's eyes is to see it as a world with these limitations, and to feel the weight of generations of Asian American hate crimes, anti-Asian laws. There's a great line by one of the characters toward the end, and he says something like, "The Chinese arrived here over 200 years ago. How is it that our faces still don't register as American?" Ugh. Right? It gets you. Okay, so to sum up for the book, you will laugh, you will cry. It is important, so hell yes, this is one of my top books of the year. I definitely think that it deserves that ranking. So as a last personal note about this book, I want to say thank you to Mr. Yu for putting someone like me in the book. I am what's known in my community as a hapa, which means mixed, and it usually implies some kind of mixed race Asian heritage, but not always. But that is definitely the case with me. And I have only one other time in my life seen a hapa person as a character in a book. And he very kindly notes that while people like me, hapas, we can go into different categories. We are mistaken for many different things. It also means that, in a way, we belong to nothing. Whew. So that was very, very moving to me. I believe I believe I got some smoke in my eyes. Whew, and I needed to take a moment. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. Okay, moving on to the last third of the cigar. The tasting panel noted that the flavors did get a little muddy towards the end. And maybe I agree with that a little bit. I think the pepper is coming back a little stronger, and there is a bittersweet chocolate that I'm getting to that. Now, I hesitate to say chocolate. Maybe I should say cacao. Because if you're like me, when you hear the word chocolate, you get like, and it's not like that. It's more of the bittersweet chocolate flavor. Still smooth, still flavorful. Now, I will say, smoking cigars makes me hungry, but of course, everything makes me hungry. If you're my friends and family, you know this. And my mother made these wonderful apple cookies for me. When I was in a break, I took a little bit of a nibble, and what it did is it made these baking spices really come out in this. You're getting like those cinnamony clove flavors, and there is weirdly a hint of an apple in this. But yeah, if you have any snacks around that are apple based, I definitely recommend them. They go really well with this. So the big question, is it the #1 cigar of the year? Well, the tasting panel averaged out to about a B grade. But for me personally, that's a little bit low. I found it to be smooth and flavorful and full-bodied. But what I particularly like about it is when I smoked the first one originally was what I call the fourth third of the cigar, which I know sounds wacky, but stay with me here for just a second. Cigars travel with you when you're done. Anyone who smokes a cigar, if you don't think so, you're in denial. But there is something about how it stays in your mouth, how the fragrance stays in your hair and clothes. I'm a big perfume nerd, so I really do care about that. What we call the room notes in my household, how the actual smoke smells, is frankly delicious. It is sweet and fruity. So what I found was that the fragrance that was left in my hair and on my clothes was actually quite nice and reminded me of some of the higher end tobacco scented perfumes out there. So I did really appreciate that. So, smoothness, yes. Body, yeah. Flavors were delicious. Lovely fragrance and room notes afterwards. Beautiful. I would personally give it an A. So if you take into consideration all of those things, and then you think about the price point, which is anywhere, I've seen it from $10.50 to $14, which is pretty good price. I would say absolutely, this is a great cigar. I will be buying many more. I think it's a great one to give as gifts. Yeah, it's a pretty dang good cigar. Okay, so last bit, because I gotta put this down, but I'm greedy. A few more. So before I get into a preview of what will be the next review, I want to say thank you so much to my very patient and amazing set designer and technical help and all-around support. Thank you to my tasting panel. Thank you to my web consultant, to the gentleman who gave us the name, The Chronicles of Cigarnia. That was awesome. Thank you also to you for watching and sticking around to see the whole thing, I hope. Please pass me on to anyone who you think would be interested. Please like this if you did. Please subscribe. I am also on Instagram and TikTok under the same names, where I do little short bits that I call short storgies. Get it? Stories, storgies. So for next time, I am going to put on my big girl pants and read Stephen King for the first time. So we are going to pair a horror book with a cigar that I think is very aptly called The Bone Crusher. So please come back for that review. Thanks again. Was that a ring?